Barkley, 20-footer, yes! For the tie! Her turnaround shot in the air! It's good! Flash, no! What? Finds the Wallace. Barkley puts it up. Does it count? It does! Shango does! Donald center's good! Oh my goodness!
Hello and welcome everybody into another edition of the Solar Panel, whether you're watching live on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter, or listening wherever you get podcasts. We appreciate you, the Flaming Ballers, more than you know. I am your host, Greg Esposito. Ahoy, hoy. Joining me as always, the man, the myth, the legend, the Silver Fox. It's Dave King. Dave, how are you?
Good morning.
I never know what to expect when I throw it to you. And the Carmel Thunder from down under, it's Saul Bookman. Saul, how are you, my friend?
Good. I just finished a great show on Apple TV. I don't know, you guys have probably seen it.
Which one?
Ted Lasso?
Ted Lasso, yeah. It was,
God. Ted Lasso is about the best show that's been put out in 10 years for me.
It feels like it shouldn't be as good
love
as it is, and it is just fantastic.
Well, and they just announced season 2 drops July 23rd, so get excited.
May 23rd. May 23rd.
Did they just push it up? Because nice.
Or maybe you read it
at the Apple event was May 23rd, yeah.
Oh, nice. Well, I love me some Ted Lasso, and then I just finished Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I won't spoil anything, but
I just finished that too last night. A heck of a show. I mean, what's so great about those shows, and the similar with the Mandalorian on
Disney,
is the quality, is how much they put into it, where it is like movie quality over 6-8 hours of TV pleasure. So man, that stuff is fun.
TV is the new movies, YouTube is the new TV, and we're the new ESPN, if you will. So let's hop right into it here. I'm lying. We're nothing like ESPN. We're broadcasting.
We only cover one
this
team.
This is not a TV podcast. This is a Suns podcast. So let's get going.
I'm sitting in a walk-in closet, so there's nothing like television. This is nothing like television right now. So let's just start here, right? It's Suns in the midst of a very big East Coast swing. A lot of tough opponents. They're had a few rough games so far. What are your thoughts on the East Coast swing so far, and just in general? Let's start with you, Saul.
Oh man, whoo! We're gonna get into Devin Booker in a little bit, and I'm itching for that one, and I'm gonna piss a lot of people off, I'm sure. But I will say that the Suns have not played as pretty as I think they could, and I think they've gotten a few good breaks here and there. But what I've been impressed by is their fortitude and their stick-to-itiveness and the way they have bounced back in the fourth quarters.
Stick-to-itiveness.
Yeah, you like that?
That was supercalifragilistic.
Thank you. In the fourth quarter, I've been impressed in how they kind of find themselves, and they kind of they get on these runs in the fourth quarter to really take the lead eventually and hold on to it, and they've been able to hold on to some of these leads. Milwaukee was an overtime game, but still, I just that's the part that I'm taking away from this, because I think there's a lot of things that we can point to that could be negative, and I have a huge concern based on who they've played, how they've played, and what that could translate to in the playoffs. But I'm not trying to freak out.
Hey, you know what? Vincent Lai in the chat said, good break against the 76ers. You know what? Tell me the last time somebody missing a 90-foot shot was a good break. I mean, come on.
Well, and why was that the only thing? The national media.
Suns closed that game out.
Yeah, Suns win that game. They beat the one of the best teams in the East. They play a great game, and all anybody talks about is a missed shot by Joel Embiid. Even the alert after the game
wouldn't make that shot in practice.
No, even the alert to tell you the game had ended was like Joel Embiid misses insane buzzer beater, Suns win. I'm like,
right?
Why they can't even get respect when they win games? I
don't know if it was like that. I don't know if it was like that, because even the players were like, "Holy crap, he almost made that!" They were all impressed. Devin Booker literally stared at the basket for like a good 3 to 5 seconds after that shot. Like, did you see
it's like looking at an eclipse. It's not going to happen again for a long time. So but still,
It's okay to
frame
praise
the game.
It's okay to praise it. I don't think
but
we
to
should be
frame
so.
the game as the Sixers barely missed a buzzer beater.
No,
all that
yeah,
would
that's-
have done
that's
is send it
poor
to
form.
overtime, and the Suns were up, and it was just a wild, crazy shot. I mean, it's
It
not like
led
it's a 1-footer.
PTI.
It's not like it's a 1-footer lean forward,
Joel
one-handed.
Embiid.
Don't look at the net thing.
Joel Embiid was the best player on the court that night, yes?
Yes.
And he single-handedly almost tried to win the game for the 76ers, yes?
And he lost.
And he lost, yes, I know. But he almost pulled out a rabbit out of his stupid-ass big freaking hat. And it would have been incredible if he would have made it. I don't get all wrapped up into the disrespect card that the national media has for the Suns, and I don't feel like this plays into that. There's superstars, and then there's not superstars. And Joel Embiid is a superstar. If you don't like it, get a superstar that's equal or higher value.
I
The
don't
Suns
know.
don't have somebody that's on Joel Embiid's level right now. They don't.
That's true. I was confused as to why Chris Paul decided to miss that free throw too, when making it puts you up 4 and gives him absolutely no shot.
He
But
didn't.
you think he just missed it? He just missed it. That he didn't miss it on purpose.
I actually do, because the very next night when they played the Celtics, his very first free throw hits the front of the rim and barely trickles in, and I was like, okay, I can see it.
So tired legs more than anything. All right, I can.
Yeah.
I can give you.
Do you want to hear my thoughts on the?
Yes, please do. I've blocked out 15 minutes for us to just sit here quiet now. So go ahead, Dave.
All right, get your coffee.
All right,
Settle in.
we're good.
They won the 2 important ones. That's all that mattered to me. So there are 4 games since we last recorded. They played that getaway.
Yeah.
Oh, do we have actually a game tonight and Saturday? And then they won the 2 games that matter, which were the top 2 seeds in the Eastern Conference. And then on the 3rd game in 4 nights, they happened to lay an egg against the Celtics, still held them under 100 points, but couldn't close out the game. And they actually shot. That was their worst offensive performance of the entire season. It happens. It happens. Let's
Well, that
not
was a
stress about
scheduled
it.
loss. Yeah, I mean
That's
that's
a scheduled loss. That's why when you asked how are they going to do this week, I predicted 3-1, and they only went 2-2.
I
predicted 2-2.
Was the 4-game stretch, was that including the Spurs, or was
Yes.
that just the road swing?
I think
it was
when we asked
including
at the end of last week,
Okay.
it was the 4 between episodes.
yes.
Okay, gotcha.
So
We all assumed the Spurs win.
Yeah.
we should never do that as Suns fans. That's our
No.
biggest problem there. When you assume a Spurs win, you're destined for disappointment.
Yes.
Well, Pop's got the hair. All he's got to do is put on the robe, and he'd be a wizard, just walking around and just twiddling his fingers and making things happen.
Or the dude from the
crazy.
Big Lebowski. I think he could pull that off too. He's got kind of that look going on. Look, I don't care that they've lost a few. I mean, it's bound to happen. The thing that, and this is going to sound weird, that kind of bothered me was that they hung around enough in that Celtics game that they couldn't rest, CP3 and Book and Ayton. That was a perfect kind of game to go, you know what? All right, we don't got it tonight. Our legs are tired. Let's rest these guys so we can get ready for Brooklyn, New York, and then Clippers and Utah at home. And they just hung around. They kept cutting it to 9, and you can't exactly pack it in when you're within striking distance. And so I don't know. I just think that little extra rest would have helped.
You're disappointed that they weren't down 20.
This team, it's going to be very tough to actually convince Chris Paul or Devin Booker to take any games off to rest, right? I mean, there was a story this week that came out talking about Chris Paul, and when he got to Oklahoma City, they sat him down, showed him a PowerPoint on how resting him strategically and only playing him 60 games last season, when they thought it was going to be an 82-game season, they felt was the way to go. And Chris Paul just looked at Sam Presti and that group was like, hell no, I'm not doing this. So strategic rest, I don't think is going to be easy to convince these guys to do. So when you're down big, that is logical. And I think some of these guys accept that, at least in that situation. That's the only reason I feel like it, because these guys have pushed so hard. This is one of the most grueling schedules ever. in NBA history. The playoffs are going to be difficult, and everybody else is either resting or has been injured, so they've gotten downtime. It just concerns me that at some point you're going to see a burnout effect. And that brings us to our next topic. Is there something wrong with Devin Booker? Because he has not exactly looked right. And could burnout already be setting in with this man? Do we want to put the stats up there for the last 6 games for Devin Booker? 18 points, 4.3 assists, 3 turnovers. He's only shooting 37.5% from the field and 17.9% from 3. That's problematic. You know, the point that's just the field goal percentage alone is problematic. Is there something wrong with Devin Booker? Is it time to be concerned? Dave, let's start with you.
Saul was inhaling and everything.
You're lucky.
He was ready.
I was ready. Go ahead.
Absolutely. Devin Booker has regressed in front of our eyes. He's become a guy who I don't even know if he should be starting anymore. I'm thinking we could put like Langston Galloway out there in the starting lineup and get a few more threes. That's my take. I mean, he's kind of a negative all over the place. He's missing obvious shots. I mean, the guy's just been disappointing. I mean, we might even want to revoke his All-Star nod.
I love that you can't tell the difference between Dave's sarcastic tone and his regular tone.
I mean, somebody that's just tuning in right now, they're like, damn, Dave, what is wrong with this guy? Like, chill. He's completely effing around.
You don't have to tell people that. No. Let me go with this thing. Man, Langston Galloway at least makes the shots he puts up.
Okay, Dave, can we get your real take here?
Right,
the sarcasm.
Because I'd like to start here. Come on.
All right. My real take is that Devin Booker has not been in this many meaningful games in his career, and he's hitting a cold spell. He's hitting a tired spell. He's getting beaten up, especially in the last 4 games. He's gone against some of the best individual defenders, right one after another, as far as physicality, getting up into him, long length, and all that. He's had a tough time, and it sometimes it just wears on you. And the first thing to go when you're really tired or just feeling a little bit off is your jumper. So he'll come back, and I'm really glad it's happening now and not happening in May or June. You know, I'd rather see him get out of this funk. Every player goes through a funk, and then but they all come out of it because these are professional athletes, and they don't just stay in a funk for the rest of the year. So I'm happy it's happening now. I'm also happy that the Suns are still 3-2. And while they have had their 2 worst offensive performances in the past week and their 2 losses, they had 2 great wins. And Devin Booker made big shots at the end of both of those great wins. That's my take.
All right. No, that's very, very well said. I will say this. There was a video that I'd seen this week, and it was the late Kobe Bryant talking about Kevin Durant. And Kevin Durant, when he first got in the league, was very predictable. He had certain things he could do. He couldn't go left. He couldn't finish off the left. Yeah, it was a beautiful video. And Kobe's mindset in terms of breaking down a player and knowing what he was versus what he is. And Kobe said it was the one guy he couldn't figure out before he got out of the league. With Devin Booker, I feel like guys, good defenders, like really good defenders, like Drew Holiday and Matisse Thybulle, can figure him out. And they have the length and the strength to be able to do what they want against him. Devin Booker it got lucky. Let's be real. Devin Booker got lucky that PJ Tucker fouled him because Drew Holiday had his ass locked up. He couldn't go anywhere. He couldn't do anything. He forced him all the way.
It was Drew
that's what
they heard the slap from.
No, it was PJ Tucker. The foul was on PJ Tucker. And when he drove to the right side, like, he's a good 33 feet away from the basket, fading away on a 3. Like, that's not a good shot when you had the ball for like 12 seconds. And they knew it. And Drew Holiday busted his ass to get through those screens because they knew what was coming. They actually set Drew Holiday on somebody else because they knew that they were going to do a screen and they were going to set Devin Booker up. They wanted to get him on what's the guy's name? DiVincenzo. They wanted to get him on Dante DiVincenzo. And it just – that's what worries me. is the further you go in the playoffs, or when you get to the playoffs, you're playing really, really good teams. And the best teams have really good defenders. And can Devin Booker overcome those defenders in these key moments in order to get his shots and produce higher than what he's producing right now, especially on this road swing? I don't know. Listen, wait, Dave, I'm still going. Hold on. And that's the thing that's what I've been saying that since day one on this show. The playoffs are a different animal. I've never seen Devin Booker in the playoffs. So everybody talking about Devin Booker doesn't get love. He doesn't do this. He doesn't do that. He doesn't get any shine from the national media. It's BS and blah, blah, blah. The dude has never been in the playoffs. And we got a little taste of it this week with two very, very good teams. And to be frank, he flopped. He absolutely flopped. He had a couple clutch buckets against the 76ers. I'll give him that for sure. But Matisse Thybulle had locked up pretty good, swatted that ball all the way back to Pennsylvania. Like, it's just, I want more from Devin Booker. I don't know if physically right now he can actually do it. He does look like he has a bit of like some heavy legs and he's a little fatigued. And I think once he gets maybe to the playoffs and they get maybe about a week out, he's going to get some rest, some much needed rest. And maybe we'll probably see a different Devin Booker at that point. But in the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks, they still need him, and there's some big games coming up. I kind of wonder what we're going to get from him.
Saw not very far that ball had to travel to be.
I know he was in Philadelphia. I know. Shut up.
They're in
just keep going. Can't you just fucking glance over it and just move on?
Where's for kids?
Jesus. As soon as I said it, I was
Devin
like,
shot it to Pennsylvania as well.
I had to cut the tension here. Now, look, I agree with Saul that it's concerning, but what I think is he's pressing too much, right? He's back to trying to do too much when he just doesn't have it right now, where he should be the distributor. He should be setting Chris Paul up. He should be making sure his teammates are involved because it's obvious. If we are noticing it, he knows it. I mean, it's not like he's oblivious to what's going on with his own game. And sometimes the best way to get out of it is to just stop pressing so much, to do the other things that you do well and let the offensive game come naturally back to you. And I think that's what's frustrating right now, is that he's not doing that. He's not focusing more on that, on a team where he finally has the weapons that he could actually rely on, right? He doesn't have to be the guy. And in part, I don't like that Monty keeps going back, even during this stretch, to him in those final moments
in the ISO
and dumping that pressure still on. Give it to CP3, who can drive to the bucket, who can set up a teammate, who's one of the best mid-range shooters to ever live, and give him a last-second shot in this, where all the eyes are on Devin Booker in those situations, and just change it up a bit. That's part of what's going on right now, is just that pressing that drives me nuts.
I love how all the Booker skeptics, the quiet skeptics, are coming out now. He has a little bit of a bad stretch. And all of a sudden we got discussions of, is he really a B player? Is he really a number 2? And all this. Chris Paul is adamant that he's not the best player on this team. If Chris Paul says that, he doesn't have to say that, guys.
He might not be the best player on the team. I give him that. But Chris Paul is the best decision maker on the team. And I think at the end of the game, I'd rather have the ball in his hands making decisions to free up Devin Booker or a Deandre Ayton down low, who they pretty much all but avoided in this whole week in the fourth quarter.
Y'all are just smoking some funny stuff. Devin Booker is the best player on the team. He's going to beat Devin Booker.
He's not the best decision maker in the team. This guy's he's 5th on the all-time assist list because of his great decision making. Chris Paul.
Look, Devin's an A. There's no doubt that Devin Booker is a number 1 player. I'm just saying during a stretch where he's struggling, that's why you brought in other teammates and guys like Chris Paul who can step up and help him out. Like the best guy on the team doesn't always play the best in every single game. It's just too grueling of a schedule for that to be the case. So I think what Devin Booker just needs to learn to trust his teammates a little bit more when he's struggling and not try to force it. That's all I'm saying.
Dave, when you see what's coming in the fourth quarter under 30 seconds left, Devin Booker's getting this ISO. How many times has that really been effective? I can't even remember the last time that was effective outside of maybe the Mavericks way, way back early in the season. Is that
you already mentioned it.
What?
Sixers on Wednesday night.
Was that an ISO
You made
play?
that shot. Yeah.
He came off a screen, I thought, caught the ball, and then drove and did a fadeaway on the baseline.
Man, it wasn't pound the air out of the ball at the top and then try to make something happen.
All right.
Do you disagree? Obviously, you disagree with us. That's fine.
That's fine. I'm keeping the receipts. All you chatters, all you podcasters saying Devin Booker's not good enough.
You're a podcaster. What are you talking about?
I didn't say that.
What is the problem? What is the problem?
I can disagree with you.
No, you're allowed.
My disagreement is you guys are taking this further than he's in a bad stretch. You're taking it as I don't even know if he can. It's wrong to give him the ball. I don't even know if he can produce and blah blah blah. Look, guys, question him to death.
Nobody questioned his production. Like
he's
I
the
don't know if
dude
he could ever
get
produce.
the Suns through the playoffs.
I agree. I'm just saying, if you're having a rough game, then you've got.
Are you guys reading the comments in the chat?
No,
you guys are going off.
Okay, so you're more mad at the Flaming Ballers than the fact that I said when he's having a bad 6 games, consider passing it.
No, Saul and you as well. Nope. Everybody. I
need a fourth person for a judgment
taking this opportunity to crap all over Devin Booker.
Let me make this clear to you, Dave, because apparently the hair in your old man ears is making it difficult to hear this. Devin Booker.
There we go. Let's resort to personal insults.
Devin Booker.
If we can't win the actual basketball argument. Oh, gotcha.
The basketball argument. I'm going to look straight in the camera for this. Devin Booker is the best player on this Suns team. He is the guy that, in most cases, should be shooting the last second shot. What I'm saying is, when you're having a bad stretch, maybe you need to involve your teammates and not press as much. And maybe it's not an ISO play for him to get the final shot. Maybe you have a play where Chris Paul starts as the option and can get it to Devin Booker so he can't get double teamed. That's all I'm saying. I am not saying that he is a bad player, that he can't be trusted. I'm just saying that's it. Just don't ISO play when the guy's
the great thing about YouTube is it remembers.
Huh?
What?
The great thing about YouTube is it remembers. This chat's saved. These speeches are saved. We're gonna play it back in the playoffs.
Devin Booker will hit a game winner in the playoffs. Let's get that on record too. All right. Saul's the one that's angry here.
I'm not angry. I'm just I basically said what you said. It's just I don't think that at the end of the game. First of all, NBA players love predictability because it's easier to guard predictability than it's not. Okay. And I think Monty could mix up some sets and mix up who gets the ball at the end of the game just to give the opposing team a little bit more to think about than, okay, a 1-4 ISO and Devin Booker's going to take the final shot. It's a little easier to guard. If you don't have a second option, you're going to put yourself in a tough position. And that's exactly what happened. That's exactly what happened this week. I'm not breaking news. It's true. Every single time it's been an ISO, it's been tough. And like I said, in the recent past, I haven't seen anything that I'm like, oh yeah, this is money. Like it's kind of a 50-50. Like I hope he hits the shot, or I hope he gets free, or I even hope he gets the shot off. He almost didn't even get the shot off against the Bucks.
Don't look it up.
He technically
don't look it up.
Okay.
What's the record now with the Suns in clutch situations? It was 10-11 about a month ago. What is it?
They're
14-12.
Yeah, I think it's probably 16-12. They've won the close games.
Yeah, they have.
Yeah, it's 19-11 now. They've won 9 straight clutch games.
Look,
including the 2 this week against the top 2 seeds in the East.
I am simply just talking that he's had a rough shooting in the last 6 games.
I
It's
mean,
not a panic button.
That's also the problem here, right? Is like, and I'm not trying to pick on you, Dave, by any means, because you represent basically I'll be a large portion of Suns fans. It is hard to critique Devin Booker because people get offended, and you can't say anything negative.
I don't mind
about him.
critiquing Devin Booker.
That's
what
exactly
I mind
what
is
we're
the
doing.
implication that he is not a guy who can win in the playoffs when he hasn't even been given a chance to do it yet.
Who said anything about that?
I'll play your comments back.
Play them. I don't give a shit. Like play them.
I'm not smart enough to record this shit right now, but I'll figure it out.
Swears for kids.
I said that he wasn't very good this week. I'm not breaking any news. We just showed the stats compared to where he was versus where he is. He wasn't very good this week.
I'll show you that I can be fair. All right. I'm not just this blind Devin Booker homer. I actually have another stat.
Hold on. Stat me.
We got it.
Dave, stat me.
This feels begrudgingly like my wife is trying to get pregnant and she's just trying to butter me up so we can, do the deed. And then afterwards, she's like, yeah, I still hate your guts. This is kind of what this feels like right now with Dave. He's like, stat me. Yeah.
Dude, I'm not trying to do any deed with you. But I'll show you that I can be fair. Actually, Devin Booker hasn't just had a bad week. He's had a bad season, as we've been alluding to. So I was looking up some stuff on cleaning the glass. I did not send the graphic to you guys because I'm not fast enough for that. But Devin Booker is, he is worst than he's ever been the last 4 years at points per possession, at assist rate, at assist to compared to his usage. In other words, usage rate is any possession that ends with you shooting, pass or getting an assist or losing the ball on a turnover. He's the worst at the assist rate on that. And the only thing that's good is his turnovers are actually down this year because he's not actually being as much of a distributor with Chris Paul around. So he's actually having his worst year in 4 years this year overall. And we've all seen it. He even argues with media people who say, you're having a great year. He's like, have you watched me this year? So he even agrees with it. All right. But what I was reacting to is the implications by both my fellow podcasters as well as the chatters that this proves that Devin Booker isn't good for the playoffs.
I say this with all my heart. I love Devin Booker. We share the same last name.
The one thing you were talking about predictability, Saul. You were talking about predictability. Devin Booker actually has one of the most unpredictable skill sets because he can do just about anything. He can score with either hand at the rim. He can make shots at 3 feet, at 10 feet, at 12 feet, at 15 feet, at any distance. He can make shots in any way he wants to make them. He's got all the moves in the world. He's going through a funk. And what I can't wait for is when he suddenly wakes up and decides he's out of the funk. And then we're all like, holy crap, this is the Devin Booker that had 30 points a game in the bubble and the Suns went 8-0. And those were his most pressure games of his career to that date. So he's going through a funk this year. He's having a bad year. And yet the Suns still have the second best record in the league. He's still scoring 25 points a game. He's still winning games in clutch situations. I can't wait until he shuts everybody up.
He will snap out of this game.
But at the same time, you're going into the playoffs with Devin Booker with cautious optimism. I am going into the playoffs. I don't know. I'm not even optimistic.
Flag waving optimism.
I'm not optimism. I'm not pessimistic. I'm not optimistic. I have never seen it, so I'm not going to predict what Devin Booker is going to do.
Is what you are.
I want to see it. I've always been a prove it kind of guy. That's how we all should be. It shouldn't just be an assumption that Devin Booker is going to get to the playoffs and all of a sudden he's going to have this magic, run. Like, how do we know? We didn't know. We don't know when and how any of this is going to play out. I'm stumbling over my words. Apologize. We don't know how any of this is going to play out. What I'm going to say, though, is Devin Booker has proven more often than not that he's one of the best players in the NBA. Do I expect him to snap out of this funk? I do. How much of a slump buster he is going to put on in the playoffs is still yet to be seen because we've never seen it. We haven't seen this team in a decade in the playoffs. I don't know how any of them are going to react outside of maybe CP3.
Devin Booker will play well in the playoffs. I have no doubt in my mind about that. The thing that I just want.
If Devin Booker plays good in the first round, here's a question for you guys. If Devin Booker plays well in the first round, right? Let's say they match up against the Mavs, okay? He's always played pretty good against the Mavs, no big deal. And then he gets abused in the second round by whoever it is, the Clippers or the Lakers, right? Is that like a successful season to you?
Wait, now it's about Devin Booker and not the team. You mean Devin Booker gets abused in the second round?
Let's say he gets, Pat Bev gets in his head and takes him completely out of his game or some stupid shit, right? Which I don't expect that would happen. But
so if he's good in the first round, bad in the second round, depending on the matchup?
Yeah,
it all depends on how it plays out.
Okay.
I mean, obviously, it's a successful season if the Suns make the second round. That's one answer to your question. It's a successful season if the Suns win a playoff round. If Devin Booker is the reason they lose because he's missing shots he should be making, then that's a failure for Devin Booker, and he's got to prove it the next year for sure. Absolutely.
Sure.
Yeah,
I get it.
and it depends too. Is he missing clutch shots that could win them games in that situation? Like what
if he's making bad decisions? If he's committing turnovers he shouldn't be committing? Absolutely. Now he's got to prove it next year. Or
it was a very vague question. I fully admit that. It was probably a very poor question at best. I fully admit that.
I think what's going on right now for some people is they realize, and we're going to get into this next, but that there's a very short window here, right? With CP3, and they don't have like a lot of these teams that all of a sudden emerge as good teams with younger players. They don't have the luxury of having those first two, couple of playoff runs that are tests and that you're just hoping to figure out things as you're in the playoffs, like the Bulls against the Pistons back in the 80s, those kind of things. You can't get forged in the fire like that because there's now a truncated window, I think, with CP3. If you believe that CP3 is a big part of this dramatic change, I think that's what it is Devin needs to use these opportunities to figure out how to adjust to be successful in the playoffs. And that's all I'm looking for is when you slump, when you're feeling a little bit tired during this grueling run, how do you adjust? Because you're going to have to do it on the fly in a 7-game series. And they may have 1 or 2 shots with CP3 to actually make a legit run. And I just want to see the best foot forward when you get there. That's my thought on it.
People are talking about the opponents in the playoffs, and absolutely. Look, I did an interview with someone earlier this week, and they asked how the Suns really rank in the West, and I said, well, if everyone's healthy and playing their best basketball, Suns are probably 4th, 5th in the because obviously Denver can't be healthy; they don't have a choice. But if all these other teams are healthy, Suns are probably 4th or 5th. But it depends. Are they playing their best basketball? The Clippers melted down last year. The Jazz didn't play their best basketball in the playoffs last year. So that doesn't mean the Suns are going to lose in the playoffs. It just means if everyone's playing their absolute best. Then you've got the wild card, LeBron James. Look, LeBron James has not lost a pre-finals playoff series in over a decade.
That's it. That's just
that's all you got to say right there.
That's it,
I mean, if the Suns want to beat the Lakers pre-finals, which they would have to do because they're in the conference, that would be a first time in over a decade to happen to LeBron. I mean,
if the Suns want to get to the Western Conference Finals or even the NBA Finals, they're going to have to get through the Lakers. I think we can all agree on that. LeBron's going to come back.
We can pray that someone else gets through the Lakers and then doesn't have anything left for the Suns. That's what we can pray for.
I mean, the thing about LeBron and even AD, okay, they've literally had months off now. Yeah. And they are going to be super fresh when they get to the playoffs. If they're healthy. Anthony Davis came back the other night, and they lost to the Mavs. He's a little rusty, of course. He took like 3 months off. Yeah. And then LeBron will probably come back like the week before the playoffs, and it'll be a magic cure. And then the Lakers will probably steamroll that first round opponent, and that'll be that. And it's the Lakers are the one team that, I just feel like, okay, well, here we go. Cross your fingers and hope for the best. Whereas the other teams, I'm like, okay, well, they've never really proven it. And I feel like the Suns have a great chance to beat those teams. Whether CP3 or Devin Booker are playing well or not, the Suns have proven that they can overcome anybody not having their A game. And, they did it against the Bucks. They did it against the 76ers. They'll be fine. It's just, man.
Well, they've beaten teams. They've beaten teams. I'm just saying they've beaten teams in there playing their A game. I felt like the Utah Jazz played just as hard as the Suns a couple of weeks ago, and the Suns still beat them. I feel like the Milwaukee Bucks gave their best shot to the Suns on Monday, and the Suns still beat them.
Yeah.
Oh, I think Milwaukee and Utah are the two games that I will take away from this entire season before we get to the playoffs. And obviously whatever's going to lie ahead, that I sit there and say, okay, this team is absolutely legit because they had all their stars. Everybody was playing. There was no excuses. Nobody was sitting out, and they got it done.
Look, the Suns can't worry about the Lakers injuries or what's going on with with the Clippers or the Nuggets. All they can control is how they're approaching the game and how they're playing the game. And I have a full belief that between Monty Williams, Chris Paul, and Devin Booker, that these guys are going to come mentally right and bring it on a night in, night out basis, especially when it comes to the playoffs. So I believe that they will bring their best, and it'll just be how much can that defense hold the best of another team if they're getting the A game from the league's elite. I think that's what
let's talk about the likely seeding.
I just saw your comment, Dave. I want to know, why do you think that they have a better chance at the 1 than the 3?
Because they are, is it 2 or 2.5 games up on the Clippers right now for the 3 seed, and there's only 13 games to go. And the Suns have proven that they are focused on the regular season wins. Who knows what the Clippers are going to do? So, and then they're only 1 game because 1.5 games behind the Jazz. So I think they all the little modeling and stuff like that. Of course, these things don't 100% work out in real life like the way those models work, but Suns are almost locked into the 2 if they're going to move at all.
The Suns are only a half a game up on the Clippers.
Is that it?
Yep.
Are you sure?
Only half a game. They're like 3. They're 4 games ahead of the Nuggets.
Losses.
Look,
the Clippers have 3 more losses than the Suns, so they're 1.5 up. No,
2 more.
Look,
losses.
It all comes down to this.
Got it.
It all comes down to this week, because you face the Clippers, you face the Jazz. We're going to understand, where this is going to net out this week, because you're right, Dave. If they beat the Clippers
against the Spurs at the end of the season.
Look, but look, if they beat the Clippers this week, you're
okay. They're only a half game up on the Clippers now. So, all right, I take that back. Maybe they'll drop to 3.
But does it matter though? Does the seeding matter in a year where fans aren't really going to be a factor?
Hell yeah.
Fans are going to be a factor, by the way. Fans are already a factor at the arena. I've been there for for the last few home games, and 5,000 fans are louder than I remember the fans being since the last playoff run.
Yeah,
so
that's Phoenix, though. Let's be
honest. These are loud. The players have been saying how great it is to have the fans back. That they can hear them cheering and stuff. So I think home court definitely, and if it doesn't go beyond 5,000, that's okay. There are other teams that aren't letting fans in yet, and the seating won't matter as much to them because everything feels like a road game then. But I tell you, the home court advantage makes a big difference.
Clippers and Lakers are just allowed fans to come back now. So they have a little bit of a crowd, whatever you want to call it. But I think it does matter. It does matter because you don't want to play the Lakers in the first round.
No, I think in that case, yes, you don't want to match up against the Lakers. That's the one seeding thing that in the first round you want to avoid the Lakers. Ideally, you'd like to avoid the Lakers till the Western Conference Finals. I get that, but
that's probably gonna. So the right. So even if the Suns drop to 3, they're still in that 2-3, 6-7 range, right? To the they're in that bracket away from the Nuggets, Lakers, Jazz, and the 8th seed. until the conference finals. So I think it's pretty. It's still pretty clear because it's 6 games back Nuggets on the 4th seed and 9 games back Lakers, but Lakers have 2.5 up on the Dallas Mavericks, and the Mavericks and Portland Trailblazers are going to be a sad little fight to the finish for the 6th seed because both teams are losing way more games than they should be.
I don't want the Mavs in the first round, not because I'm afraid of them, but I cannot take a series.
Oh, I
would
love it. I would love it. Oh, absolutely love it. Yes, that's the perfect team to play in the first round.
Though,
but the Mavs are the perfect team for the Suns to play in the first round. A bunch of overrated dudes that don't really win anything. I don't really care.
That whine a lot. Yeah, it'll be that'll. I mean,
it'll be insufferable
fun
to watch the other team, but it'll also be fun to look at the scoreboard at the end of 4 of those games. So I think, look, I'm okay with, and look, we can always regret this because who knows what can happen right in the playoffs, but I'm looking forward to a first round series against any of those 6 and lower seeds for sure.
All right,
the second round then would end up being the Clippers, and the Suns would have to, they don't want to be on the road for that series. So you want the home court. So you've got to hold on to number 2. So that means there's no resting.
Give me the Clippers any day over the Lakers if I got to face an LA team in that round 2. I push the Lakers off as far as possible. Well, you may regret that though, because that gives them longer to get healthy too, if they have any lingering injuries. But this is going to be there's nobody in the West that you go, this is going to be an easy path to the finals. Like I keep hearing, and Bobby Marks brought this up on our show, but compared, getting CP3 to getting Jason Kidd in New Jersey with the Nets when they made the finals. What he forgets to mention in those is their path to the finals was easy in the Eastern Conference compared to what the Suns are going to have to face in the West. Like there is no easy path to get to the finals in any imagination. Does not matter what seeding you get. There's no easy path to winning the West. Yeah. So let's shift gears. Chris Paul this week had an interesting comment. I kind of alluded to it when we were talking about the Suns' window to win a championship, but he was talking with The Athletic earlier this week, Sam Amick, and he said, quote, "I mean, first and foremost, I love it here," Paul said. Whether Phoenix might be, when he was talking about whether Phoenix might be his final stop in the NBA, I don't know how many years I've got left. I don't really think about that either. I feel too good. Seriously, this summer I have no clue. As much as I'm involved in the union, stuff like that, I don't know what anybody's teams are, what their caps are. I don't know none of that stuff. I just play, and like I say, I'm lucky to have my brother who helps me. I can focus on playing. His brother helps him with the basketball, the business side of things. Does that concern? Yeah, Cliff is his insurance agent and also handles his basketball business. So and Jake Booker from State Farm helps Devin as well.
Yes,
but
so does Drake.
Drake as well. Yes, I find this slightly concerning, but I'm not hitting a panic button here. He makes sure to say he loves it here in Phoenix.
Yeah, that's the bless your heart, pat you on the back kind of thing. Look. I think he does love it here. I really look. I'm actually putting together an article right now, so I've been thinking about it. Look, the guy doesn't stay in one place, right? We've talked about this before. He's played for lots of different teams. He's actually been, because I was looking into his likelihood to be anywhere on the MVP ballot this year at all. How many different teams do you think he's been top 10 MVP voting for? How many different teams do you guys think he's made top 10 MVP votes for?
3 of the 4 he's been on.
Absolutely. Yep. Hornets 3 times, although once he was 13th. So twice top 10. Clippers 5 times. He was in the top 7. And then the Thunder again last year. He had a few year gap there with Houston where James Harden got all the love. And he had injury issues and stuff like that. And then the Thunder last year, he was 7th in voting for MVP last year because of how he carried the Thunder. So he left the Thunder after a year. He's probably going to at least look at the market this summer to see what happens this summer, to see if there's another team. Because look, man, it's possible you'll think, hey, the Knicks are a big market and they might finally be ready. Dallas has a huge cap space. Miami has huge cap space. So he'd be dumb not to at least look.
And that's why you have to maximize everything this year, because even next year isn't guaranteed to you with this. And if we've learned anything, and I've said this before, if we've learned anything in the last decade, is don't take this for granted. Don't take your opportunities for granted. And that's why I tend to be semi-critical about things, because this is a chance. This is a legit chance to win a title. And we may go on another 11-year drought after this in Phoenix. So I'm not saying they will, but
awesome.
We didn't think it would happen after 2010 either. And here we sit in 2021 without having been to the playoffs since then. So just don't take it for granted. To me, the most important
guy to keep is James Jones.
Yes.
If you keep James Jones, if Robert Sarver doesn't pull a trick that he did like he did on Steve Kerr and helped him leave town after a big, good playoff run, the Suns are in good shape, because in successive off seasons, James Jones has gotten Ricky Rubio and Chris Paul to run this team around this strong young core. So people saying we'll be back where we were after CP leaves. No, he'll just get another point guard. Point guards are available every summer. Maybe not as good as Chris Paul, but you know what? When Chris Paul first showed up, we're like, oh my God, 40 plus million a year for 35-year-old dude who's broken down.
Worth it.
James will, I know he's been more than worth it.
I'd pay twice that for what we've seen.
He will find, either by trade or free agency, a worthy successor to Chris Paul when he needs to.
I will never let anybody live down the fact that people thought Ricky Rubio to Chris Paul was not a significant jump.
Well, look, Dave, I understand. I understand James Jones'
shots
talent
fired.
Evaluation. No,
shots fired upward.
But look, the talent evaluation of James Jones is spectacular. It has been. He's done great. I mean, Sticks is the one thing you can point to. But look, we can't even judge that. We don't know. I mean, he could just be a guy that takes a year or two to develop, and all of a sudden we're shutting up about that too. Look, I mean, people slammed him on Cam Johnson when it happened.
But Cam was playing immediately. Like, he was getting a few minutes here and there.
No, but if you actually laid out, like, what kind of guy would be perfect for this team, you're basically describing Sticks. It's just that he's 20 years old. He didn't get any offseason. He's got to prove himself. But if you actually laid out exactly what do the Suns need right now to finish off their team, sounds exactly like Sticks. Whether he grows into that, we have no clue yet. Yeah. But certainly this is a redshirt year. I mean, if this could just be called a redshirt year, that's what it would be called. Okay, let me use an example of the Thunder are playing all these young guys, right? In the first month of the year, guess who looked like the worst prepared rookie? Was that Poku guy. I mean, he looked like the dude was shooting air balls. He was doing nothing right. Now he's playing well, because playing better, even though they're a net 100 every time he goes out there, net minus 100. But he's gotten the time, and Jalen Smith just needs time. So let's give him an off season, then prove he's terrible. But I don't want to call him terrible yet. That's all I'm saying.
Look, Fabio in the chat says Rubio has better hair. You can't deny that. I will give you that. Ricky Rubio has better hair than CP3. That's where it ends. But look, I didn't want to put the cart before the horse. I'm not panicking that CP3 is going to be out the door, but it is a possibility based on what he's saying. What was that?
It kind of sounds like you are.
No,
I have not commented on this.
That CP is not going to just shut everybody down and stay in Phoenix. He's going to look around, test the water. He may decide Phoenix is the best opportunity for him, but he has to look first.
So your thoughts?
I'm sorry, Saul.
No, you're good. I really don't have any thoughts on this. I really don't. I think CP3 is going to stay, hopefully. And if he doesn't, okay, well, this team improved with him. They understand what he brought to the table. He's taught them a lot. And James Jones will figure out a way to fill that gap, whether it be with another point guard or another superstar player, hopefully. But I think it's clearly apparent that the Suns are going to need another dynamic player to fill that void if he does leave. And I have confidence in James Jones. I have no reason to not be confident in James Jones, because what he's proven thus far has been very worthy.
Agree wholeheartedly. Just enjoy the ride too. This is something.
Luck Dog in the
that's
chat.
fun.
If Paul leaves after 1 year, that trade was not worth it. What do you
What?
guys say?
Kelly Oubre's been terrible. Ricky Rubio's been terrible. And first round picks,
Yeah.
fine, whatever. You say what you will, but I'll take what we've seen this year and we've been able to experience over keeping a couple draft picks that could be anything. And, the poo-poo platter of what's been happening with Rubio and Kelly this year.
Yeah, and Kelly, and like Joshua LeBrun said, Kelly's contract was up after this year anyway, so you didn't lose anything there by trading him for Chris Paul. I totally disagree with that, Buck Dog. The picks are probably the one thing that you're like, okay, but if the Suns finish, at the top of the Western Conference and at the top of the league, then that draft pick isn't going to be very, fruitful anyway. It's going to be a lower first round pick and whatever. So I don't agree.
Guess what? Based on trading Kelly, you could probably get him for $8 million this offseason rather than the 20 that he wanted.
Exactly. Yeah, he has not been very good.
Looking back on it, Kelly just didn't fit this offense. I mean, you look at how these guys are fitting. He was a better skilled player, but he didn't really fit the offense because the offense is about passing and getting going good to great on shots. And Kelly always just wanted his own shot. So while the Suns were much better at drawing free throws, it was because Kelly was driving into three guys and then flailing.
All right, so let's look. We've talked about Devin Booker. We've talked about CP3. Why don't we talk about the third member of the triumvirate here, Deandre Ayton? We had a great special video breakdown brought to us by Suns Video Breakdown on Twitter, one of my favorite follows. He breaks down Deandre Ayton's defense for us here in this special clip.
Suns fans, it's been a while. It's no secret Deandre Ayton has had some head-scratching moments on defense throughout his career. But this year, he's shown growth. And while he's by no means perfect, the improvement he's shown has been a pleasant surprise. I wanted to take a moment to highlight a few plays from this season, so let's get right into it. A few years ago, this is the Ayton we saw. Someone who was running around getting bumped out of the paint by smaller players in Summer League. Today, one of the things I'm loving from Deandre is his newfound confidence and assertiveness. He's someone who's realized just how strong and impactful he can be. Watch here as he stops the MVP right in his tracks. Giannis lowers his shoulder and spins, but fails to get to the rim. He settles for a bad shot and a jump ball is forced. Or here, where DA guards probably this year's MVP on the low block. This is an overtime game, and Ayton has 5 fouls. Jokic fakes and drives. And though Ayton is beaten, he sticks to Jokic, gets back in front, and doesn't foul, and gets the block. That's a legit high IQ star play. I also love the increased activity and better awareness. Take this play for example. Watch Ayton help on the Jokic drive, force the kick out, help on the second drive, and then secure the rebound up top. Or this one, where we see the ball handler dribble towards the baseline. Campaign helps towards the perimeter, but Ayton rotates and forces the miss. Or even right here. Watch DA read the pick and roll at the top. He waits for the possible drive, but also keeps Embiid on his back. He plays it perfectly and takes away the inside pass. Another aspect I love about his defense is his ability to switch. Watch as Ayton gets switched onto De'Aaron Fox after the screen. He crosses once, then again, then goes up, but DA is right there forcing the kick out. Here's another one. Watch Luka penetrate off the screen. He gives a quick hesitation at the free throw line and then shoots inside the paint. But DA, he's all over it. Overall, I'm excited to see Ayton's continued growth on this end of the floor. He's by no means perfect, but he's improved a ton. His confidence, assertiveness, activity, and awareness, they've all improved. I think the next real step for him is doing this consistently, game in and game out. We'll see if he has what it takes, especially in the playoffs. But until then, that's it for me, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please like and subscribe. And until next time, let's go Suns.
So I think unless you're watching these games and rewinding and really dissecting, you kind of miss some of the little things that DA does on the defensive end. And I felt that was a really great reminder. And thank you to Suns Video Breakdown for that. Hopefully we'll get to have him as part of the program moving forward as well. Really like his video breakdowns. But the little things, the footwork, the way he can recover, the way, as was pointed out in the video, DeAndre Ayton willing to drop his shoulder now, take that contact from someone like Giannis and stop him at the rim. I believe those are the little things that'll have the impact in the playoffs. So what do you think?
I think that the biggest thing I took away from that was the De'Aaron Fox clip, because I just remember how many times he got roasted with James Harden and switching on the smalls, and that was kind of a point of contention. He's getting better at that. He's putting himself in position to be in proper position, and I think on that De'Aaron Fox clip, you kind of got a little glimpse of what he could be capable of if he has his fundamentals the right way. And so I absolutely like that breakdown. I did kind of think it was funny that he was like, and looking at him helping, it looked like it was a foul, but whatever. In the Nuggets clip.
Yeah.
What DA's really good about is that he doesn't care about the highlights. He only cares about the results, and he really just wants to do the right thing. And he picked up on defense quicker than he picked up on offense. And I'm looking forward to seeing him perform in the playoffs, because he has stepped up for big games. It's the little games that he sometimes fails to step up for. But the playoffs don't have any of those. So I am really looking forward to it. We've talked about DA all year. Y'all know we're DA lovers here on this here podcast. Not a problem. I will say that, how you talked about Joel Embiid being by far the best player on the court the other day, right?
Mm-hmm.
Saul?
Mm-hmm. I did.
Yeah. He shot only 4 for 11 against DA. So
when
DA
they had a direct matchup, correct?
When DA was the primary defender on a Joel Embiid shot. Unfortunately, Dario doesn't really have the foot speed. Doesn't really have it. Okay, Crowder caught him a couple of times. Sorry, Craig caught him a couple of times. The Suns don't have anybody beyond DA to defend these big dudes. Oh, remember when we used to say the NBA is getting too small for guys like DA? And now he's our only hope in the playoffs, because every playoff team has a 7-footer that's incredibly skilled. I mean, so maybe he's made for this stuff. So I'm looking forward to it. He was only Giannis had a really tough time scoring on DA as well. I was real happy with that outcome this week.
Yeah, my favorite part of that was the fact that DA got hurt. He had that shoulder injury. And I don't know if it was just like Monty telling him to suck it up or what, but they just were not going to blow the whistle to get him out of the game. And he just kept playing, and his arm was dead. Yeah, it was just completely dangling right there. Yeah. I thought he separated his shoulder for a second.
I did too. Crazy. I thought he popped a collarbone is what I thought.
Same.
But a collarbone only takes 25 pounds of pressure to snap. That's
insane.
Jesus Christ.
Insane. And he took with one arm, he took on Giannis in the final play. I mean, it was crazy.
Before Giannis got a toe cramp and had to sit out.
Hey, look, Ayton forced that toe cramp.
Couldn't feel his arm and played through it. Giannis ow.
My toe cramping.
Okay, so I also put together a video breakdown of Dario Saric over the last 30 games, and here it goes. He sucks. That's your video breakdown right now. He has sucked lately. Come on. If it comes down to Dario
he's been a tree in a forest the last few games.
It's been bad.
I mean, even he's slumping after every shot.
His whole body looks like DA's arm after the shoulder injury. It's just limping. I can't believe it.
Dario more to break out of his funk.
Do we have to say sucks though? Can we just not say? Can we just say not?
He has not played very well. That's my analysis.
Everybody in the chat saying that word.
Look, Ariel in the chat says, I thought Espo was going to start crying during that video. If you can't appreciate true art, Ariel, that's not my problem. That's your problem. All right. If you can't appreciate it. Let's move to our flaming ball, not our flaming ball, our smooth ball. You don't want your balls to be flaming, all right? They have Manscaped has ointments if your balls are flaming. Let me tell you that, because Manscaped got bush. Not if you got the Manscaped trimmer, you don't. Our friends over at Manscaped always willing to offer you 20% off and free shipping using the code Flaming Ballers. That's right. The code Flaming Ballers at manscaped.com. Save 20% and free shipping on any of your orders so you can take care of what matters most. If if all you worry about is what goes on downstairs. So Flaming Baller of the Week, it's Chris Paul. He had a heck of a week, 20 some odd points, 8.8 assists. I don't remember the rest of them. There we go. 19.5 points, 8.8 assists per game, and in the last 5.3 rebounds, and he is shooting 50% from long range. That's right, 50% from long range. If you want to make 50% of your shots with the ladies, get Manscaped. You can make sure that your game. Well, no, look. Hey, if I shot 50% back in my single days, I would have been quite the happy man. All right.
Okay. How about if you want to increase your field goal percentage?
Look, my shooting percentage was much more Devin Booker from 3 of the last 4 games than Chris Paul from 3 of the last 4 games. All right.
That's what I'm saying. Just increase.
That's because I didn't have Manscaped. All right. If I had Manscaped, I would have been more Devin Booker or more Chris Paul, 50% from the 3-point line. You can get Manscaped again, 50. You wish it was 50% off because it's such a great deal at 20% off. You can get 20% off using the code Flaming Ballers and free shipping. Manscaped.com. Thank you to our friends.
1 M, 2 L's.
And by the way, Dave, both of you should be getting a secret surprise from the people at Manscaped.
I'd like to get the first surprise.
Secret surprise.
I quadruple checked the address this time, Dave, and you will be getting a special surprise from our friends at Manscaped.
It's underwear with a hole, so your boys can just hang down low.
Oh God, can you imagine the only thing hanging out?
It's an elephant. It's a picture of an elephant.
It's called freedom underwear. Underwear.
Yeah.
Diego, I'm gonna read some of these because they're funny. Hello says, how do you think Espo got children? Manscaped. Diego, Espo's balls are smoother than CP3's head. I'm going to leave these alone now. That's where we're at. Manscaped, Flaming Ballers is your code, 20% off. And we always make so many people cringe when we read these.
Every time, baby. Every
fun
time.
In it. Prize closet. We're going to make the announcement of who won the last one. So if you want to, yes, not a euphemism. The prize closet will be open next week. We're going to announce who wins our first round of Manscaped, our Manscaped contest here. If you want to get entered, send me proof of purchase, not a picture of you. I want a picture of the receipt showing that you used the code and bought something from Manscaped. We'll break out something. And also, reminder, going on still, if you go to newsletter.solarpanelpod.com, you could win this autographed Goran Dragic jersey that I'm trying not to dunk in my coffee because it becomes worth much less if I dunk it in my coffee. So it's a newsletter.solarpanelpod.com. You can sign up there for that. We were running out of time here on the program, but wanted to get to a question from one of our Flaming Ballers. Miscellaneous Thoughts wants to know, with the Knicks doing well, we're hearing a lot of talk about Tom Thibodeau for Coach of the Year by journalists. How upset would you be if Tibbs had more votes than Monty at the end of the year? Saul, why don't we start with you?
Well, considering both franchises were thriving in mediocrity for the longest period of time, and now both franchises seem to have come out of that mediocrity and are playing some very good basketball, I would say that it would be completely disrespectful that if you just completely disregarded the second best team in the NBA and gave it to a larger market just because. Like, I understand the Knicks have won 8 in a row, but however, they are not the best team in the NBA. They're not going to be in the discussion for the best team in the NBA, and the Suns are in that discussion. So I think Monty Williams has done a fantastic job. It started last year. I mean, we have to remember this team won 17 or 19 games. I always forget that. And then they won 36, and they were a very good basketball team. And Monty threw away a lot of those bad habits and bad fundamentals that this team had and changed the culture. And I think that's what That's what Monty is doing right now. He's changed the culture inside that environment, and it's something that people are actually desiring to go to. With the Knicks, I don't know if you feel that way because of Tom Thibodeau, because he's had a bad run a couple times here and there. And, he's very defensive minded. He's very heavy handed. And so I think everywhere he's gone, he's always had instant success because he's gotten these guys to believe in defense. But then it starts to wear thin and people start to tune him out, and then it kind of falls apart. So in my estimation, Monty Williams is hands down the runaway coach of the year. And if Tibbs gets it, just burn the award.
Dave?
I think Tibbs will get votes for coach of the year the way Chris Paul will get votes for MVP. He'll be somewhere on the list, but he's not going to get anywhere near the most. Really, the biggest threats to Monty Williams getting coach of the year are rookie
CP3.
coach Steve Nash and rookie coach Steve Nash and Quinn Snyder of the Utah Jazz. Those are the guys I worry about.
I think it's a 3-horse race. I think it's Snyder, Monty, and Tibbs is the way it comes down. And I think what they need to do is have a 3-coach tournament where they each get certain mascots from around the league, and the guy that can actually coach idiots wearing foam suits to win a basketball game gets the award. Because
what the hell?
The award doesn't matter. Let's be honest. It's just it's a media construct for something to talk about in the offseason. What matters is what we've seen Monty Williams actually do. And there's no denying that Monty Williams is one of the best coaches in this league, in sports right now. And one of the best people too, what he's been able to do. And that's without us even knowing what he went through personally earlier in this year that caused him to miss some time, which it was another thing that's gone on this year. In general, Monty Williams is a class act, and I really don't care who gets it, because we all know that Monty Williams is one of the biggest difference makers we've had in this town in a very, very long time.
I mean, the Suns should sweep those 2 awards, in my opinion. Executive of the Year with James Jones. I don't care what the Nets did. The Nets largely got those guys because one domino fell, and then the other ones fell too. And one guy forced his way completely out of Houston just to go there. Like, I don't really feel like an executive should be rewarded for
Sean Marks should not get credit for
pirating, another team. I think James Jones has done a beautiful job of constructing this roster the way it is. I think Monty Williams has done a great job of developing the talent on that roster from what it was to where it is. And I think both of those should be rewarded for sure.
Agreed. Thank you for the question. You can always tweet us questions at Sun Solar Panel or email us mailbag@solarpanelpod.com. We will get your questions in as we receive them. So thank you for that. And actually, I think we've got something that's a bonus special here coming from one Dave King. I think we've got a.
Do we have a double team stat this week?
You guys are double teaming me. Oh man,
double statted you, man.
So, all right. So my last stat me is that we've been hemming or worried about these 2 losses in the last 4 games. Oh God, do you remember the days when two wins out of 4 was like a big week? Now it's a terrible week. The Suns had their 2 worst offensive games of the season in the past week. And is that a sign of fatigue? Is that a sign of just bad games? Who the heck knows? But it's certainly not a sign that it's going to happen again. The Suns are, by the way, they are 1-4. They've lost 4 out of 5 times when they've made less than 7 threes in a game. 2 of those happened in the past week. So people who say the Suns are reliant on the 3, well, you know what? Every NBA team is reliant on the 3 to a certain extent. They in 4 of their losses, the Suns shot 15%, 17%, 22%, and 25% from 3. That's bad. Doesn't matter how few or how many you make. The only win they had making 6 or fewer threes was over the Bulls, because the Bulls are just so bad.
That is how I expect if Dave's going to stat me a second time, it would feel disgusting. So,
oh my God!
I will say that the Suns don't need to make a ton of threes. They are almost undefeated when they shoot less than 10, but more than 6. So it's just like they just have that sweet spot. They just needed to make a couple of more threes in most of these, not the San Antonio Spurs one, but man, they've got a sweet spot of just making a few threes, but don't shoot 15%. Okay, that's all. That's my
that is great analytics right there. Don't shoot 15%. Advanced
hashtag analysis. Hashtag analysis.
Look, this is how good you get it. You get 2 Stat Me Daves. Some of you will be happy there's no Espo's big board. I was going to do the Espos in honor of the Oscars, but the only one I could come up with was Best Picture, and it was Luca getting kicked in the junk this week. So I figured that wasn't enough for a whole segment of the show. So look, before we get out of here, I got to give a shout out to Just Sports, who is all of a sudden rocking some of the coolest Suns gear. They just dropped this hat, this new Valley fitted hat, and I had the snapback and I'd wanted to fit it for the longest, and they came through. So I'm digging this. Wait,
who is this?
Just Sports.
That's a pretty clean hat right there for sure.
Yeah, like years we couldn't find anything Suns. Now everything
Everybody's
cool is coming from the Suns, and Just Sports had a bunch of it. So just wanted to give them a shout. Pretty sweet. So
I'm surprised we're not Dick's fans here since
I couldn't transition from Stat Me
since we have
Dave.
the Stat Me Dave and the Smooth Baller. Like we might as well throw in some Dicks.
No, see, we're just sports people because everybody in the chat says just stick to sports. Stop with the jokes about that stuff. So yeah,
just sports.
let's go through it. You can follow Dave on Twitter at Dave King NBA. The NBA is there because he couldn't put any of the other terms we were just talking about. It would have looked weird in a Twitter handle. You can follow Saul _Bookman. The underscore is there because it's spit roasting the Saul and the Bookman on either end. Saul's a griller. I know. He made me ribs the other night. It was spectacular.
I did make
spectacular. One of the best grillers I have ever been around. Yep.
I did. Yeah. I know.
Look, I see how it is.
We were just at the cat out of the bag. We had a secret meeting without Dave. And
look, Dave.
You had a production meeting? I see how it is.
No, it wasn't a production
we had a ribs meeting.
Oh, dang.
We had a ribs meeting, and that's what it was about. And there's a capacity of only 2 good-looking guys at Saul's house at one time, and I had enough good-looking for all of us.
There were a couple other people there then?
Yeah. Next time, I shouldn't have said that. Never mind. Forget that I said that.
I don't care, guys. It's fine.
Soon, Dave. Soon, I promise.
That's fine, Saul.
I live like 5 minutes from Saul. It's not, so. And then you can follow me at Espo. The show's at Sun Solar Panel. I've got to go do some damage control with Dave, so we probably should end.
No damage.
Episode.
It's done. You can't damage something that did.
we appreciate you guys, the Flaming Ballers. Make sure to hit that join button, subscribe to the newsletter, and leave a 5-star review on iTunes. You can rip us in the written part. Just leave the 5 stars. So for Dave, for Saul, Espo. I almost called myself Greg again. I'm Espo. And we'll talk to you next time here on the Solar Panel. Ahoy, hoy.
Barkley, 20-footer, yes, for the tie. Warhurst turnaround shot in the air. It's good. What? Finds the Barkley puts it up. Does it count? It does. Shake